Okay, with that, there's a lot of news to get into. Let's bring in our panel. Tom Rogan, commentary writer for the Washington Examiner. Leslie Marshall, syndicated talk radio host. And Matt Schlapp, contributor with The Hill. Okay, Matt, let's start with the DNC. You know, some people saying this is a fundraising gambit, others saying this is an effort to get people to be deposed and continue this thing even if these investigations wrap up. How do you see it?
It is the dumbest political move I've seen in a long time because it makes it all about politics. Those of us who go on TV every day and explain that that this whole investigation with Russia is a canard and it's about the Democrats making politics, the DNC just confirmed it. And the irony of this, as Trey Gowdy said earlier on Fox, is the irony of that is if anybody has a beef on collusion and rigging something, it's Bernie Sanders with what the then DNC chairman Debbie Wasserman Schultz did with that nominating process. So I can't get inside their heads to see what their motivation was, but as a Republican, it's pretty stupid. Well,
you share that opinion with the President of the United States. So within the past few minutes, actually 7 minutes ago, he just tweeted, just heard the campaign was sued by the obstructionist Democrats. This can be good news in that we will now counter for the DNC server that they refused to give to the FBI. The Wendy Wasserman Schultz servers and documents held by Pakistani mystery man and Clinton emails. Debbie, I'm sure he's talking about Debbie Wasserman Schultz, but the president obviously weighing in, saying that they'll go after the Democrats for all of that.
And both sides are wrong for doing this. Yes, Matt, don't feign. I agree with you a little bit here. What the American people want is less of this, right? They want less of the swamp. They want less of both Democrats and Republicans and the president certainly to be in the weeds. Again, the president constantly says there's a witch hunt, there's no collusion. Just let Mueller do his job. Let the investigation play out. Everything else is a distraction. Comey is a distraction. This lawsuit is a distraction. The president's tweets are a distraction. And the president responding in the way that he's threatening to respond, this would be yet another distraction. I don't think it helps either party or the president.
Tom?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's inherently politicized now, and I think the blurring, most people watching this, certainly my grandfather last night when I was watching this show with him, is the perception that everything, whether it be McCabe, Comey, the president, the DNC today, comes together and it's inherently politicized. And the problem with that, ultimately, is that when the final decision comes, whether it be from Mueller or any of these investigations, a lot of the country are just not going to believe it. And so the credibility of institutions, the capital behind us, you know, that is something that is suffering here.
In the Comey memos, January 28th, 2017, one of the memos, he says this: I explained that he could count on me to always tell him the truth, talking to the president there. I said, I don't do sneaky things. I don't leak. I don't do weasel moves. Obviously, he those memos to his friend, and now there's an IG investigation whether those memos contain classified information.
Right, and he didn't tell the president that this sex stuff, the dossier, was funded by the DNC and the Hillary Clinton campaign and his political opponents. And obviously, Jim Comey went before Congress and in two different topics, in two separate months, sequential months, gave different answers as to whether or not the president put political pressure on him to open or shut the investigation on Mike Flynn. The problem with Jim Comey is that he has an amazing lack of how he is coming across to the American people. He lacks so much credibility, and I think these memos do nothing to add anything to his side of the equation that somehow the president was acting inappropriately.
Well, Democrats say they show that he has the same thoughts then as he has now, and he wrote it down extemporaneously at the time.
He lied to Democrats in Congress. On two occasions, he gave different testimony in May of 17 that he gave in June of 17. He's got to deal with Congress on that.
All right, let's see if I can get this one. House committee chairs Goodlatte, Gowdy, and Nunes on the Comey memos. They write this: the memos also show former Director Comey never wrote that he felt obstructed or threatened. He never once mentioned the most relevant fact of all, which was whether he felt obstructed in his investigation. The memos show Comey was blind to biases within the FBI and had terrible judgment with respect to his deputy, Andrew McCabe. On multiple occasions, he, in his own words, defended the character of McCabe after President Trump questioned McCabe. Leslie.
I have to say that when I heard he was writing a book I was hoping he wouldn't do some of what he did. Two of the things that bother me as a Democrat are, one, really stooping to the juvenile level of some of the president's tweets, talking about his hands, talking about his hair. Two, even talking about Russia or obstruction of justice can obstruct, in a sense, the entire investigation and derail what's already. So I definitely have a problem with that. It's obvious that this man was angry that he was fired, and many of us are. Many people in Washington write books afterward. I don't think that Comey has helped himself with this if he's planning on running for office, but I don't think it's going to weigh into Democrats. I think quite the opposite. Republicans wanted these memos released. If anything, I don't think it makes Comey look as bad as the president based on the president's response and the president's behavior according to those memos, and really caring more about himself and coming off as paranoid.
We'll see how this all goes. Again, I interviewed Jim Comey on Thursday. We're going to save some time for North Korea. Friday lightning round, the breaking news, North Korea saying it will suspend nuclear testing. We got the president continental ballistic missiles, also stopping nuclear tests, as well as shutting down a nuclear test site in the country's northern side. Back with the panel for the lightning round. Tom, you've written about North Korea just recently. A significant move today?
Yeah, I think it is. And I think the president is absolutely right to meet with Kim Jong-un, but I think he should do it sooner. And the problem here is that with this suspension, people think, well, the North Koreans are stopping along the way, right? The problem is, though, as we understand it, the last remaining element is the re-entry shielding on the vehicle that carries a warhead down to Earth and the terminal stage targeting. And that stuff you can do in the lab, so they kind of don't need to do the tests. And one of the reasons, that's why I say the urgency of meeting Kim Jong-un is so that the president can say, okay, let's make that deal, but 72 hours from now, let's have the IAEA in there. And hopefully, I think Trump's comment today, the president's comment, suggests he gets that.
So is this, you think, a hat tip by the North Koreans to say, okay, here we go, this is where we're going?
I think it's to get the meeting, because, you know, what's the president saying? Not just if he's in the room and things go awry, he's going to take off, but, you know, if he hears things prior. So I think this gets him in the room. I don't believe them. I mean, you know, quite frankly, if we're considering North Korea in the same, or on the same axis of evil, if you will, as Iran, why are we to believe him? What does he have to gain and quite frankly, this has been part of the power that he has, not only over his people, but over the region.
This often happens when we're on the panel talking about a particular topic, that there's a tweet that matches this topic. Just in the past minute, the president tweeting, North Korea has agreed to suspend all nuclear tests and close up a major test site. This is very good news for North Korea and the world. Big progress. Look forward to our summit.
Yeah, I mean, this is one thing where I think everybody, both sides, are looking at what's happening on the Korean Peninsula, and it's a shocking moment. And the experts I talk to tell me that this is real about having a denuclearized Korea. This is real about the fact that we can still keep our troops there. This is real that the crazy North Korean government is responding to the fact that there's a new president who has a new approach, and it's got them in an unstable position. There's nothing here but positive news. I hope the meeting goes well. Maybe it won't, but there's nothing but positive news here.
All right, the first official state visit next week by the French president. Don't miss that interview Sunday with Chris Wallace with French President Emmanuel Macron. I want to go to winners and losers. Tom, first to you, winner of the week.
Yeah, my winner of the week is Vladimir Putin, in the sense that the chemical attack in Duma, the Russians have been playing antics to prevent the inspectors from getting in there so that they can scrub the site. We know that. I think President Trump should declassify that information, get Nikki Haley to do an Adlai Stevenson moment at the UN.
Loser?
My loser is Nikki Haley this week because of her jumping ahead of the ball on the sanctions. I think that weakens her position at the UN in a very critical moment.
Winner and loser?
Tammy-Jo Schultz landing that plane, doing it calmly, getting all those people in safely. Go girl, girl power there. And my loser is the president, because he's helped Comey be more of a winner in the bookstores and online, helping him sell books instead of doing what the people elected him to do, stop the tweeting and get to the job they elected you for.
Music. Country Music Awards bested the interview with Jim Comey, which gives me great hope for the country. They have their priorities in order.
Loser?
Loser. DNC Chairman, Mr. Perez. Stupid. I love it. Good job. When I'm rooting you on, you've done the wrong thing politically.
Panel, as always, thank you very much. It's